Mixing with Mike plugin of the week comes from Kit Plugins. It's the N54. The N54 stands for the 2254 Neve compressor, built in the very late 60s by Rupert Neve. This is a classic compressor, diode bridge design. It was the predecessor to what later and many other plugins have been made of the 33609 and the variants therein. There were variants of the 2254. I'm not sure exactly which one this one was, but this is not the original. The original actually didn't have a threshold, the very original one. And then there were modifications where they added thresholds and different attack times and all the other sorts of stuff. So what we have here is kind of what you would expect. We'll just kind of go left to right here, do an overview. I'll play a little music, kind of show you a little bit about what it sounds like, and we'll kind of take it from there. Input gain control, output gain control. That's important, and I'll explain why in a bit. You have the limiter on-off switch, so this puts the limiter section. In terms of the way that the signal flow goes, we have the input. We have the compressor section, right, which is here. It goes into the limit in. So this is a gain after the compressor, but before the limiter. And then we have the limiter settings here, right? So compressor settings here, limiter settings here. This is the gain going into the limiter. So input gain, this I believe is just a digital gain, nothing analog-y about it. Into the compressor, into the limit in, into the limiter. You can engage the compressor or the limiter here with fast or slow attack time. And the same here on the limit, right? You could tie or link them together, right? So that links the two sides together. There's a sidechain filter for the sidechain. So if your low end or bass or whatever is sort of overdriving the gain reduction, you can kind of balance that out. It's sometimes especially important with kick snare balance and all of that sort of stuff. Just bring in enough to make the kick and snare kind of trigger the compression equally. Wet dry control, as you would expect. Now it comes up as linked, right? So this would be linked stereo. There are two options actually when you load it up. You can load up the stereo or dual version, and then there's a mono version, right? So this would just kind of give you the single version. They call it single. And then they have the dual version here. If you unlink it, it allows you to do the controls left and right independent of each other. Sometimes that's beneficial. There's also a mid-side mode. So when you work in mid-side mode, the two sides are unlinked, and then you have mid-channel and side channel here. You'll notice that there's a trim control, right, which is a makeup gain that is comes up when you go to mid-side just to kind of balance your mid and side energy. There's typically far less driving the compression on the sides, right? So you will bring down your threshold, your makeup gain settings might be different, etc., etc. It also gives you the ability to solo up the mid or side channel, and if you're in stereo, that would be a actually it still goes mid-side solo. I guess it just only works in mid-side. Sorry, I should have look that up ahead of time. If I unlink it left and right, no. Okay. All right. So that's what we have there. Now there's one other addition to this, which is a compressor recovery setting 1/8. So it'll make it 1/8 the value, right? So in the stock compressor, the 2254, the fastest release time is 400 milliseconds. So divide by 8 and you get something like 50 milliseconds in there. So that's pretty damn fast. So that gives you some controls, and then it gives you a lot of options as you go up, the spectrum here to 800 to 1.5 seconds. So it gives you added options in terms of the recovery time. That only works for the compressor. And then you have an output gain, which is your makeup gain control. Let's do a quick listen. I just have some drums here. And let's just I just dialed something up pretty quick just to give you a basic vibe, and then we'll fool around a little bit with it. So you get that nice kind of punchy thing. It takes away a bit of the boxiness, really opens up the depth. I just have it kind of working where it's pumping and breathing a little bit. Here, I'm going to start from fresh just to kind of show you a little bit here. Generally here, if we're kind of starting the process, this is kind of what I've found with it, and the way that I operate. I set my threshold here at 0. Now, they said that the calibration was set at -18. Yet, when I'm actually putting signal in that is, and just the levels are, the average levels are around -18, but I'm finding that it's triggering a bit more than I expected. So the way that I'm working this here, whatever my setting is here, fast or slow, let's just start with a fast setting here. Set my threshold to 0, and then I adjust my gain reduction, my input gain here, leading into this, and that gives me, I feel like a better starting place, particularly if I want to use the limiter. So let me kind of demonstrate that here for a second. All right, so I'm at -10, and it's still triggering there at 0. And then I can set my output gain here. I'm going to go a little bit more than that, maybe closer to 5. Right now, I can actually go here. And this is helpful if you want to just kind of drive it more. What I find with this is that as you go up in ratio, it tends to add a bit more warmth to the sound, where it tends to be a bit more transparent if you're at the 1.5 to 1. Right? As opposed to this. Let me crank up. Right, kind of a bit of a ballsier kind of sound. Let's go to the slow attack here if we just want to kind of ease up a little bit on the clamping down of the transient. V switches between the vintage hardware ratios as measured versus the exact ratios when it's off. All right, so there is a difference there. It's important to note that the numbers printed on the hardware are often just approximations, not the exact values or what you would expect. Anyway, all right, so I like that a little bit, giving me a little bit more ballsiness. So let's just kind of make it pump and breathe here, try and play with this 1/8 setting here. Right? Adds a little bit of grit and warmth to it. I like that. I like that. Let's see what happens if I go to the auto release, which has like a secondary recovery stage. I'll go with this. I want it to kind of pump and breathe a little bit more, and then I'm going to kind of cap it over here on this side. So now what I have here, if I put the limiter in, I'm going to put a fast attack and a fast recovery here. Let's see what happens. All right, so that's adding kind of onto that. Now let's just kind of go with the mix, wet, dry here. Let's see if we can mix a little bit of that in as like a parallel. Right? So a great way to kind of bring a lot of grit and aliveness in. That 1/8 setting is really powerful. It really gets that kind of pumping and breathing energy, brings out all the air, which, you know, helps to like add like a presence energy to it. You typically get that with a very fast release compressor. It kind of brings like shakes up high frequencies somehow. And then just the added depth and character that it kind of brings to it, which is super cool. I really dig this. This is a really, really, really good emulation, you know. And as you can see, just with the simple drums here, that how powerful it is. It's just kind of bringing out a vibe to the sound. So, yeah, I don't know. Gets a thumbs up from me. I really dig this. This is going to be part of my workflow from now on. There you have it. Plugin of the week from Kit Plugins. The BB N54. Check it out. It's definitely worth it.